David, more violent protests in Libya, right, that we're hearing about. Here's what a medical source is saying. At least 20 people were killed today and some 200 wounded in Benghazi on the Mediterranean coast. Is Gaddafi losing control?
Not yet. I mean, 42 years in power, this guy knows how to stick around, and he knows how to do so in a brutal way, and oftentimes total domination there of the people, and he is likely to be using ruthless measures to put down dissent. There's no opposition infrastructure. What you're looking at there is a pro-Gaddafi demonstration that was put on state television. It's not like that in other parts of the country, that's for sure. And in fact, I got an email from our international desk a couple of minutes ago literally saying that soldiers in Benghazi, the second biggest city in the country, have put down their weapons. Now, if that's true, that's an interesting development because there was shooting on the streets there recently.
We have seen gatherings of people, and you and I have talked about Libya, Yemen, Egypt, Bahrain, just in this one conversation. Have we ever seen this much unrest and protests against the government in that region?
Unprecedented, absolutely unprecedented to have it. And it all started with Tunisia, and then everyone just got emboldened, and it went from there to Egypt, and it's really just gone from one to the other, a domino effect. But they could all have vastly different outcomes. You cannot imagine the Saudis standing by and watching the Bahraini royal family fall, because it's not in their interest. The US, of course, in the meantime, is walking that incredibly fine line where they say protesters in Iran should be allowed to voice their opinions and urging them on. And on the other hand, just sort of more restraint, please, in a place like Bahrain, where the Fifth Fleet is, very important to the US.
We don't know what's going to happen there. I have to ask you, it's domestic as opposed to international as far as coverage, because when the unrest was happening in Egypt, live wall-to-wall coverage, domestic. Is it still, how is it playing in international media? Is it still the #1 story? Is it still wall-to-wall coverage?
All over the world, yeah. One of the problems we've got, certainly in a place like Libya, you can't get in. And because Gaddafi doesn't let international media in, so we're having to get our information and pictures out basically by cell phone videos and stuff like that. Very difficult to cover. We've got people in Bahrain. That's the big one at the moment everyone's watching. As I said, Yemen, very shaky. In the middle, Saudi Arabia. And we never even got to chat about Israel, who must be sitting there biting their fingernails as all this is going on in this tough neighborhood.
And I talked about the Suez Canal and all that. But hey, I'm going to ask you, you're a war correspondent, foreign correspondent. In any of these places right now, if you had your druthers, where would you go?
To cover?
Yeah.
Bahrain.
Why?
Absolutely, because I just think it's key. It's key strategically for the United States. It's key in terms of the region, in terms of its neighbours. It could go very badly there. If the crackdown there happens, if the Saudis go in and help, which could happen, it's happened before, and it becomes a brutal crackdown, that's going to put the US in an even worse position because they're not going to be, it'll happen at a level that the US is not going to be comfortable watching allies do if it becomes even more rough there. The alternative is to have a widening of democratic reform in Bahrain, but if it becomes too democratic, the Shias will win.
Yeah, I have to tell you this, and you probably feel the same way. I sent your boss a note saying I had correspondent envy because we want to be where the big stories are. You've got this great gig as an anchor, but do you sort of envy do you want to be there on the ground?
I was talking to Nick Robertson earlier and expressing the same thought. Asking if he wanted to swap. I spent a lot of time in Iraq and Afghanistan, as you know, but we've got heaps of crews there at the moment. I'm just waiting for somebody to need a rest.
But I'm saying that to say, people, we've talked about the dangers. That's, if you want to do this, you're going to continue to do it anyway, whether or not you're attacked or what happened. It's sad that it does happen, but that's what
it's in your blood.
Thank you.
It is. Good to see you, mate.